I love animals. I want to be a veterinarian. They don't understand. There's so many other options to work with animals, and they don't have to be a veterinarian, number one. And number two, that because you're a veterinarian doesn't mean that you're going to work in a clinic, right? There's so many other avenues that you can pursue through becoming a veterinarian. And so that's one of the things that we really key into and show students that there's options.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this session of the Demi Learning Show. I am so excited to have the opportunity to welcome Nikki Boutwell and David Sessom today to talk to you all about veterinary medicine, about what is available to your children besides a traditional doctor of veterinary medicine degree. Having a child in the field, I can tell you, it's wide, it's vast. Boy, do we have a lot to talk about today. And y'all provided us with some amazing questions. So I'm really excited today for us to have this conversation. Nikki, we'll start with you.
Yeah, hi. Well, thank you for having us. We're super excited to be able to share not only about our program, but all the opportunities, for students, young, high school, and older. So I am a little unique to this program and the way that I've come into being able to work with fine professionals, but with animals as well. So I am not a veterinarian. I am not a licensed veterinary technician. I am not a veterinary assistant, but I get to work with these people all day, every day, and it's a really different path. I'm from El Paso area, a small little town called Clint, outside of El Paso, so the farthest west that you can get in Texas. Kind of born and raised there. I've traveled all over, but really that's where my roots are, where I'm from. A mile from the Mexican border, probably 20 miles from New Mexico. So very diverse population. I graduated high school from Clinton High School and I went to New Mexico State University. So I have a bachelor's degree in animal science. And that's kind of how I was raised on a farm and always just knew that that's kind of what I wanted to do. I liked animals, considered vet school, but really didn't want to go to school for 8 years. And I wasn't really that studious. And so I figured out once I started to get my bachelor's that I could have a life and a career with animals and not go to vet school. And so I got a degree in animal science. Went on to get my master's degree later on, but I actually started teaching, and I taught middle school science, grades 6 through 8 at Clinton Junior High. Kind of took me back to my hometown and where I knew and where I was comfortable with. My husband and I have 2 kids, and so that was perfect. I started working there. I worked for 4 years as a middle school science teacher, and I coached volleyball and basketball and cheerleading, track, all the things that you can do. And so I left there and went to a middle school in the same district and became a professional curriculum coach doing professional development for middle school teachers, mostly math and science, and then all about 45 teachers that we had on campus, 6th through 8th grade. Got my master's during that time, and my master's is in educational leadership from Grand Canyon University. And so I thought that that's what I was going to do, was stay in education and stay with schools. While I was there, I was given an opportunity, asked to take an opportunity to be an ag teacher at Clint High School. They didn't have a teacher, they couldn't find a teacher, and I was the only person in the district that was certified to teach ag. And so I gladly went back to the classroom and I taught ag at Clint High School for 6 years. Once I got there, I was given, hey, I want to start a vet science program. And I said, okay. And so I said, give me a deadline. If you don't put a deadline on it, I'm not going to get it done. So my principal said, well, I want to start next school year. Long story short, I started a vet science program and at Clinton High School and certified all my kids as veterinary assistant through that program. And so I used this curriculum from BSCP when I was in the classroom. And that's really how I got to Texas A&M. Because I was using this program, they were looking for somebody to give feedback on public education and how this program is used in public education. And so that's really, I started volunteering for the program, working through the program. And so I eventually got to Texas A&M through this program and became the coordinator. So my background is really education. I enjoy kids and mostly secondary kids as my forte, middle school and high school. And I really have a niche and a mission for kind of the underserved, rural, those kind of kids is kind of my mission and what I like to work towards. Obviously, all kids, but I know what it's like to kind of come from small town, long way from services, and so that's really what I work on mostly. I'm currently getting my PhD at Texas A&M in ag education and working on mentorship of students, youth students, to pursue a degree or some sort of profession, trade in veterinary medicine, animal science, whatever that may be. I travel a lot back and forth. My office is there on campus. That's why David and I are in different locations. I am not on campus all the time. And so we work with a network of people that kind of hold us down and hold down the fort for us. But I'm the educator. That's kind of what I bring to the group and have really been able to use my animal science degree and a lot of my professional career and stuff to be able to help students and parents in that aspect. I have also homeschooled my parents. I'm sorry, my kids. And so as a parent, I kind of have a little bit of public school, homeschool, virtual online public school is what my daughter's doing right now. So kind of as a parent and as an educator, what that looks like. So I am not the professional. So we have David and Dr. Susan Culp, and if we need something in the profession or in the veterinary world per se, those are the professionals that I rely on, and so we make a really good team to be able to help each other in most aspects. So I'm glad to be here today. Thank you very much for having us, and I'll turn it over to David.
So my name's David Sessum. I'm a licensed veterinary technician here in Texas. As Nikki mentioned, she's a program coordinator. I'm the program manager for the veterinary science certificate program. I'm coming to you live from Kleberg. We're in the Department of Animal Science here with AgriLife Extension. This is my 26th year as a credentialed veterinary technician. I'm from my hometown's about 40 miles north of Houston, which is now Houston. So it wasn't when I grew up there, but it's now Houston. It's been consumed by Houston's. But it was a pretty small town, and I grew up in 4-H and FFA and doing all of the things that small town kids did. But I'd always had animals. I'd always enjoyed being around animals, and I always thought that my career would lead me to being a veterinarian from Texas A&M University, because at the time that was the only vet school in Texas. Kind of as my career went, or kind of my high school career went, growing at that time, our community was kind of economically challenged, and we were rural at the time, and kind of my path kind of changed. I got out of high school and didn't really know what I wanted to do at that point, so I was a electrician's apprentice for 2 years after high school, and my boss knew that I wanted to go back to school, so he basically fired me and gave me a Christmas bonus to enroll in college. And my aunt was a licensed veterinary technician at Gulf Coast Veterinary Specialists, and they've been featured on Animal ER and things on Animal Planet, and that it's a really successful surgery practice. So she had graduated from Lone Star College Tomball and was a licensed vet, or a registered technician at that time. So she told me she knew what I wanted to do. I knew that vet school kind of wasn't in the cards at the time, and I'd always had this illusion of everybody else that I'm going to be a vet tech first, and then I'm going to go to vet school, and we will definitely talk about that pathway today. But I went down to Gulf Coast Veterinary Surgery. My aunt said, you need to come down here and see that this is what you want to do. So I went down there, and they were doing arthroscopy and hip replacements and knee surgeries, and I was like, yep, this is it. This is what I want to do. I graduated from tech school. I have an associate of applied science and veterinary technology from Lone Star College Tomball, and then went to work for Gulf Coast Veterinary Specialist, and then went to the College of Veterinary Medicine at Texas A&M, and was there for about 10 years, and then helped found Blinn College's vet tech program. So then I went to work for Blinn's vet tech program, became program director of Blinn, became program director of Lone Star College. I went back to my alumni, and then I ended up, Nikki and I had dinner one night. I'd been on the ad hoc committee for the VSCP program for about 10 years before that, but this will be I've been here a little over 3 years now in this role as program manager for the vet science certificate program. So kind of a different, not really a different pathway, but all the questions that we got beforehand about people asking about career roles, and I get to work with even vet tech students now, about because my job is considered non-traditional. I spend a lot of time in a clinic, but now I'm not affiliated with a clinic any longer, so it's kind of a different pathway. But it is something that we get to. We'll talk more about our program in a bit, but I'm excited every day to come to work. And it is, the clinic. There's literally something different every day, but we get something different every day about what we're involved in with AgriLife research. And Nikki, you'll smile too about like screwworms when I mention that. That's a big part of what we've tons of meetings for those, but it's almost like a disaster response, which I've also been involved with in a lot of different assets in my career. So I'm excited to share that with students about kind of what they, when you find your niche and you find your passion and then kind of follow that pathway to get there.
My middle daughter came home with everything fuzzy. She brought home everything from birds to turtles to squirrels. We raised them all. When she was 11, she said, I want a pet rat. And I said, over my dead body. Long story short, 21 years later, I have 2 rats in my office because they're cool. They're fun. They're kind of amazing little creatures. And these 2 have very different personalities, but they are amazing. And she is, she wanted to be a veterinarian when she was tiny. And then she said, no, I don't want to do that. And now she's a biological researcher. And so there's so many paths forward. And I'm so excited for you all to talk about that today. So, David, you have a PowerPoint you were going to share with us.
When we talk about exploring diverse careers for all animal lovers, that's what we're going to talk about. But kind of briefly, we'll discuss our veterinary science certificate program is. So we are part of Texas A&M. We are part of AgriLife Extension. I saw in some of the questions that were submitted in, we are not part of College of Veterinary Medicine. So we are Texas A&M University, but a lot of people think that our program is kind of a feeder into the vet school, and it's not. We'll discuss what it is real quick. Our program was started in 1995 by Dr. Buddy Ferries. He had an appointment with AgriLife Extension, but he was also a faculty member at the College of Veterinary Medicine. And at the time, nothing like this existed. So when this was developed, it was classroom education for 4-H and FFA programs across Texas. And then it got picked up nationwide. Now we're international. So we have a lot of customers in different nations as well. But at the time, it wasn't created to be an on-the-job training program. It was a classroom education for instructors to use to be able to have kind of a curriculum to work through. Since then, like we said, as Nikki had mentioned, we've expanded to include homeschool programs, adult learners. We even have undergraduate students who are this is ways for them to get into clinics. We'll talk more about those in a little bit, but really ways to strengthen veterinary school applications or explore veterinary career opportunities. Our emphasis is career exploration. I want to be a veterinarian. Okay, what kind of veterinarian? I don't know. Well, let's figure out equine, regulatory, public health, a lot of those. We have programs and curriculum for students down to middle school. We're working our way to elementary at this point. So really, we try to provide them access to a curriculum, career exploration, skill development. As we mentioned, our undergrads, right now we have an animal science program where animal science students can gain credit their classroom hours to get their certification through our program to help with their vet school application and their career making, decision making. But our curriculum it was designed for 4-H and FFA, but now it's homeschool. We also have an industry-based certification that's recognized by the Texas Education Agency, and that helps kind of other states develop that as well too. Nikki kind of went through a laborious process to obtain that for us about what we had to do to obtain that. It is helpful for states that are looking for completers and things for as far as public school goes. Really what our emphasis, as we said, is career exploration for students to figure that out. And the way we do that, so we offer instructional resources and training for FFA teachers and 4-H leaders, and also, and even with 4-H leaders or homeschool parents, they're all kind of the same. We think of it as different silos, but it's not. They kind of do the same thing in what they do. So we're able to offer teachers opportunities for professional development. Our events are career development events. That's kind of the FFA term. Skillathons or 4-H. We do a lot of day and overnight camps, and these are focused on food animal, equine, and conservation medicine. We'll talk more about those in a minute. And really not to spend a lot of time on this, but this just shows you, I think, Nikki, when we started, this had what, 2 trees to it, 2 branches as it comes off. And now it's like and a lot of our products are developed on request from teachers and educators or parents that come through. So we have independent study. We have a virtual vet academy that's more structured for students who need a little more support or interaction with a teacher, like in a classroom, but there are virtual online, and you'll see these different programs for parents because we have a lot of parents who lead these in the homeschool arena. But then to kind of move on to our events, our mission is to help students who want to go to vet school. We that's typical or interested in careers in veterinary medicine, but every now and then we reach out, we show this and want to talk more about it. We organized the youth track for the beef cattle short course. We just finished this a few weeks ago. Or this is always our favorite event because it's the last event of the summer, right? Our busiest one of the summer. And you'll see kind of the brochure for one of the camps. And we'll talk more about these, but our food animal medicine career day camps, and we've got other options for those. We do offer equine focused camps. We typically partner with the Texas Equine Veterinary Association to offer camps. So like this particular one is at our Brazos Valley Equine Hospital in Navasota. The students got to see a hyperbaric chamber. They talked about different career pathways. They saw a farrier. We saw a dystocia that day, so a difficult birth in a horse that was having issues for those. So we try to bring them in and show them, because a lot of these kids, I want to be an equine veterinarian, and they get into a clinic and they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. Or this is really cool and this is for sure what I want to do. So either way is an acceptable answer. We also do some food animal focused camps. This one's at the Hereford Veterinary Clinic in Hereford, Texas. So this particular camp, we go to a clinic for half a day and then go see a feedlot for half a day to talk about feedlot medicine. So this one's in the Panhandle in Texas. So that's kind of where the feedlot cattle are. But we really try to recruit students in some of these niche areas because we do need more large animal veterinarians, both equine and food animal. And then this, I don't have a picture of it, but we do Fossil Rim is a conservation thing here in Texas that we go through, and we do a lot of those. And then our youth track, this just kind of shows the pictures. We did tours of 44 farms one year. One year we went to our focus was meat science. This year we'll talk about what we did as well too. But in our beef cattle short course, one of the things we did was take a tour of the Texas Veterinary Medical Diagnostic Lab. This individual pointing to the screen, this is a former student of mine, and she's actually the assistant section head for parasitology now as a licensed veterinary technician. So she did not go to vet school, but she's the assistant section head for the clinical pathology department there. And you'll see kind of what our students do. We talked them through TVMDL, and really the focus on this was for the students. Most of these students that were on the beef cattle short course track they're interested in cattle. Probably 20 to 30% of those students wanted to go to veterinary medicine, but we were showing them the relationship with industry and what TVMDL does for cattle producers. And they were talking about all the testing and things they do there. So they got to see that. And then one of the days we took a tour to Transover Genetics, which is a bovine reproduction facility. So the students got to see kind of behind the scenes of what happens in a reproduction facility. Even this career with Transova and TVMDL, if you want to be a veterinarian, you still have those opportunities. But what was amazing to me was the students, when we went to TVMDL, there's about probably 5 of the students, and we had 40 students in that, or 30 students at that camp. And about 5 of them raised their hand and said, what do I have to do to work here? From a tour, from being introduced kind of behind the scenes to see what they see, this big fancy building, and it is a laboratory setting. And TVMDL, they built the building for tours. So you don't go in the labs, you look, it's like fish in a bowl. But the students, when they saw the things that was going on, they saw some of the screw-worm research, they saw some of the diagnostics. That day, the students got to see a necropsy on a lion. It was just random that it happened, that a lion came in, that they got to see a necropsy on. So then they're like, what do I have to do to work here? And to work there, you don't have to have those advanced degrees and things so, we'll talk about that more this afternoon. But to me, that was kind of fascinating. And one of the things that we do that's an intentional effort to show these students about career exploration. But that's it doesn't feel like it after our summers and our events and things. And that's kind of a brief overview of what we do.
All the things that you all are doing. Well, this is why we're in August having this conversation, because you guys have been so busy all summer.
Summer is our, it's just kind of nuts that, that's when kids are available. And so we try to make ourselves available. But I did want to add just a couple basic notes about our program, because I know we'll get a lot of these questions answered later on, but basic things is that we start kids at age 12. You can start our program at age 12 with the curriculum, hands-on clinical experience at age 14, and then they can sit for certification as a veterinary assistant as early as age 16.
Now, is that specific only to Texas?
No, we're in all 50 states.
So you could sit for a veterinary tech license at 16.
Not tech, assistant. And so, yeah, we have to be very specific about that word. And so very common, we get that a parent will say, I want to enroll my kid in the vet tech program. Well, in order to be a tech or a veterinary technician, you have to have a high school diploma, you have to be 18 years of age, and you have to attend an AVMA accredited institution. And those are going to be something like your community college, Lone Star College, those kind of things. And so we do veterinary assistant, which is the kind of the basic introductory, get your feet wet, role in a veterinary clinic, hospital. I hate to even say clinic. And I think that's probably one of the major things that I want people to understand from this is that we have to get out of our mind that you have to work in a clinic. And so there's so many things that you can do as a veterinary assistant and never even work in a clinic. You have to have clinic experience probably, right? But that's what kids don't understand is that, they think I want to be a vet. I love animals. I want to be a veterinarian. They don't understand there's so many other options to work with animals and they don't have to be a veterinarian, number one. And number two, but because you're a veterinarian doesn't mean that you're going to work in a clinic, right? There's so many other avenues that you can pursue through becoming a veterinarian. And so that's one of the things that we really key into and show students that there's options of, being a poultry veterinarian. You don't work in a clinic, you work on a poultry farm, right? And so there's so many different avenues that students can pursue. But I think what I really want to make sure that people understand as an educator, and I don't think parents understand, is that in the education system, and Texas, I would say, is kind of a leader in this, but I think it's rolling out to other people, other states, is that in Texas, you have to pick your pathway, your career pathway at eighth grade. And so, what are we doing as parents and as educators to give students opportunities to really experience something that they might really be interested in if we're not giving them that, face value experience of, I really like animals. What could I explore or look into, right? And so, I think things are changing a little bit now, but for a long time it was computer science, right? Engineering, computer science, and the medical profession. And so that's kind of what everybody got pushed into, right? And so I think we're leaning more back towards trades and, trade professions and, electricians and plumbers and HVAC and those kind of things, which I think are highly valuable. And, a 4-year degree in college is not for everybody. And so even in the veterinary profession, we have space for all of those things. And so we need to be able, as parents and as educators, to push our kids to explore those things. And we can't do it when they're at juniors and seniors in high school. We have to start exposing them at a younger age and giving them the opportunity to say, like, oh, I really don't want to go to vet school. Or, oh, I really want to be an equine veterinarian, but I've never been around horses. I was raised in the city. I don't have a horse. How am I going to be a veterinarian for horses if I've never even touched a horse? It is a possibility, but they have to have that experience. And so that's one of the key things that this program focuses on is providing opportunity for students, working with veterinarians to provide that, working with parents to say, hey, your kid can do this. This is the way that you're going to do it. And veterinary school is very, very competitive, and we'll talk about that. And so as a parent, we need to start helping our kids get prepared at a younger age so that they have the ability to build their professional resume. And you're never too young to start working on that resume. So if a student is wanting to go to vet school, they should be documenting what they're doing now and working towards that goal at age 12, 13, 14. That doesn't mean if you decide at 17 that I'm going to go to vet school, it's too late. But we have seen that the kids that, are very adamant and passionate know at a young age, we need to start working with kids as educators and as parents at a younger age, not once they're out of high school. So, what is it that they want to do? Give them the exposure and the opportunity so that they can kind of figure out that path and that they can go down that, through their high school career.
It's also important, I think, equally as well, that exposure rules it in or rules it out. Because in my own family with 6 children, I've had some children who were very determined for a particular career path until they had the opportunity to do an internship in that particular career path. And then they decided, no, thank you. That is not what I want to do. So
And so let's say you want to be an engineer and you don't get an internship until your second or third year of college, and you just spent how much time and money, and then it's like, well, I've already gone this far, so I might as well just finish. That's not really what they're passionate about. They're not happy about it, or they have to change and kind of backtrack. And so we want kids to be able to explore that. A lot of students don't know that they can be a technician, that they can be a licensed veterinary technician, right? They don't know that that's even an option. They just think, I have to be a veterinarian. I have to do this. Well, you don't, right?
Well, and actually, Nikki, the first conversation I had with Susan is, a year, almost a year and a half ago now, was that kids only saw one path to be able to work with animals, and you all have provided them with so much more to be able to see and quantify.
And there's an assumption by the public that when you take a pet to the clinic, you come in, you see the receptionist, then you see a staff member, and then you see the vet, and then the animal goes to the back. This is a small animal clinic. And then the public's under the assumption that the vet's doing everything, and that's not the case. That's not the case at all. And that's where a lot of the push with veterinarians is for technician utilization to better use credentialed technicians and their staff, and if you read the Practice Act in most states, veterinarians are allowed to do surgery, diagnose, prescribe, and then typically like extract teeth with an elevator. So those are the four things that you go to vet school for. So everything else, to be an effective practitioner, you should be delegating. So to your staff, and then the levels of supervision and requirements as well too. And then there's the opportunities for education. It's I think a lot of times when people go into a career, I know I saw something yesterday. I was watching a video yesterday about Micro was talking about just the workforce that for every 2 people, for every 5 people who retire, 2 people come in. So it's the same, and especially with large animal veterinary medicine that way. So kind of making up the shortage. They talk about a shortage of veterinarians, but a lot of that's definitely large animal. But I think there's a place for credentialed veterinary technicians and their utilization and things in clinics, and that's kind of the pathway that these we have to train the veterinarians to better utilize their staff. That's an issue. But I think with students who don't necessarily want to go to vet school, and there's opportunities for it as a licensed veterinary technician, there are schools that offer 4-year degrees, so you become a veterinary technologist. And then I know on one of your questions, we'll just kind of answer it now too. They were talking about specialization, like for every human medical doctor specialization, there's typically one that's equivalent to veterinary medicine. So if you want to be a surgeon, you can be a surgeon in veterinary medicine. If you want to be a neurologist, you can be a veterinary neurologist. But there's also veterinary technician specialists. So there are specializations available for credentialed technicians so in that case, I work for a surgeon, but I'm a veterinary technician specialist in surgery. So I do, I'm trained in that niche of surgery and the implants and things for those too. So there's a lot of opportunities outside of, and even with the things that we keep talking about with our veterinary assistant certification, that kind of opens the door, for kids, all the questions on how do I get a clinic? How do I do this? How do I become an equine vet? That's the thing about, a lot of veterinarians will take students in when they're on the educational track versus when they just kind of show up, and a lot of them are all these people. I mean, there's literally a class of 300 students here at animal science that'll start in the fall, and they all want to be veterinarians. And that's going to change when they get through at the end of their animal science career. But a lot of these students that Nikki had talked about, those students that come in that have that advantage because they've been in a clinic already, they know that this is what, I want to be a horse vet. And then they get called at 3 o'clock in the morning into a colic, and they're like, I don't like this. So that's kind of the benefits of kind of getting that experience early.
Well, my vet tech started volunteering at the age of 14 in a veterinarian practice. And, she swept floors, emptied waste baskets, booked appointments, did those kinds of things. And, one thing led to another, and now she does stem cell research. So
One of our favorite vets to work with, he tells a story that he went to a clinic and said, I want to volunteer. And the vet was kind of on purpose. He washed his boat, washed his car, washed his kennels, did whatever for a year. And then the vet finally found out that he really wanted to be a veterinarian. And that's when but he said, I needed to make sure you had the work ethic and things that you wanted to do. So, there's a lot of those stories that are out there. It's not the greatest way to get into a clinic, but Dr. Alvarez was determined. He was going to wash the boat. He's going to wash the car and do whatever he needed to do. And we see a lot of those kids. So we see that a lot. But, that's just kind of dedication of kind of some of the students that we work with.
Well, I think it's also important to recognize as a parent, and Nikki, I don't know about you, David, but I can say this. I can't want for my kids more than they want it for themselves. So if you have a child who says, I want to do this, and you push open all the doors so that they can do it, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to walk through those doors. We have to sort of equip them to go walk through the door.
David and I deal with this all day, every day. We're similar in age, first of all, but my children are 20 and 17, and his children are three boys under the age of 8, two, 4, and 8. So we're at different life times in our life, but we experience it daily. We have parents that will call and say, "Well, my kid can't get in a clinic." And I say, "Okay, well, tell me what you've done. What has your child done?" And so they'll say, "Well, I've called every clinic and nobody will call me back." And so I say, "Okay, well, red flag. That's the first problem. Number one, are you going to go to work for your child?" Well, no. Well, then why are you calling the clinic? That's the first thing, right? And so we have documents to help students, what to do, how to gain a clinic. But parents just think that they can do the work for them. Number one, they can't do the work for them. So they need to be doing the work, and we need to, be able to empower our children to step up to the plate, do the work, right? And so we laugh because David and I talk about our generation. We had helicopter parents, right? And so you know exactly what I'm talking about. You have 6 children, and we talk about how, our parents were just kind of covered. I don't know if they were, but maybe in between us and these kids that we have now. And now we have what we call lawnmower parents. And so lawnmower parents are what we call going over the weeds and clearing out all of the problems so that there's a clear, clean path for their kids. And so while as parents we sometimes think that we want to make things easy for them, we're really not doing them justice. And stumbling and falling down and having to navigate those difficult situations builds character and grit and the things that our kids need, and not just in veterinary medicine and life in general. And so we really need to be able to empower our kids to climb that mountain, jump over the weeds, right? Go through the thick of it. And you're supposed to be there as a parent to help them. But I think this day and age, we've kind of missed the boat on that, and something that we deal with. And I mean, it's constant. It is an everyday thing. So this is not just like 1 or 2 parents. This is all the time, right? They come to check in at camp, and the mom's like, and I'm like, "Where's the kid? Like, I want to see the kid. The kid can check in. The the kid can take their stuff to their dorms, and they think that they have to do it all for them." And so I think we've lost a little bit of touch on that. And we need to get back to being able to help our kids, push them forward and let them do the work. So I also wanted to mention, David was talking about utilization. So again, I'm from El Paso, right? We're in a veterinary desert, literally the desert, but a veterinary desert itself. At any given moment, I can go look for a veterinary position as a technician, an assistant, or a veterinarian, and there's over 50 jobs that are open. So we're in a crisis. And so I actually travel about 5 hours to La Mesa, Texas to take horses to our clinic in a veterinarian. So um, we really have to get back to showing kids that this is an option. You can specialize and pretty much go anywhere and do anything. They can live in any town that they want. There's so many options for technicians, for the industry, for professionals, for veterinarians. And so lots of different options and opportunities for students.
Nikki, I learned something this past week that I didn't know even existed. My daughter works part-time in an urgent care veterinary hospital, and they have traveling techs who actually come and will, do a stint in their clinic and then move on to another location. So it's not even limited by your geography anymore. And we need to think differently as parents.
And there's a pro and con to what you mentioned, because that clinic may be owned by a private equity firm. So private equity is buying a lot. That's also why it's one reason it's harder for kids to get into a clinic, because these corporations are setting limits about, we don't want anybody under 18. I'm like, well, you're cutting off your nose to spite your face, because you're limiting your workforce and the exposure and things for those. But that is a benefit. I know a lot of these clinics are paying over $40 an hour to their technician, and some of them even higher than that. So there is a pro and con for those.
In fact, when my daughter was telling me this story last week, now the clinic she works for is not a private equity. It's owned by an individual veterinarian. But I found it absolutely fascinating because they also have veterinarians that come in. There's a
Relief.
particular veterinarian who lives she's a relief veterinarian.
Mhm.
She lives in the Cayman Islands. But she comes to the US for 3 months at a stint, and she says, "Look, I live in paradise, but there's no money to be made
Yeah.
there." So she
Yeah.
comes to the United States for 3 months at a time, works her behind off, and then goes back to paradise. And I thought,
Mhm.
well, that's interesting based on this conversation that we're gonna have today. So
There are companies now that are relief services, and it's for veterinary practitioners. So it's veterinarians and technicians. And I mean, as we mentioned, there's always staff shortages, there's always maternity leaves, there's always issues that come up. And some of these clinics, like as an individual, to me it'd be kind of fun. It's a different clinic every day, every week. It's sometimes it's hard to stay there long term, but some of them end up in long term positions. They'll offer them position for those. So it's kind of a neat way to see what each clinic's
I think
about.
you need to be a little bit of an extrovert to make that work. I would think it would be amazing, but I am
Mhm.
an uber extrovert. And so I love meeting new people and being in new environments and figuring out how things work. So a little bit of that is your student doesn't know who they are yet. So you've got to give them the opportunities to explore, to figure out who they are. Well, in these last few minutes, you guys, what do you want people to take away from our conversation?
I think that the opportunities are there. I mean, that's, you can, it's like I tell my kids, you get out of this what you put into it. So there's as much as, I get that the parents want to support their kids and doing those, but I think a lot of the questions that we went through, that I mean, where there's a will, there's a way. So figuring out on where you fit in, and even if they're, we have students here that their end goal is to be a veterinary assistant. That's it, and that's okay. That's a job opportunity. That's an opportunity for advancement, or it's at least a foot in the door where they at least see, okay, now I did that, now I can do this. So they never had aspirations to move forward, but now they're like, you know what, I've done this now, and now I want to be a licensed veterinary technician, then I'll move to that. So there's opportunities that are abound. So, that's the limitations are us usually, or self limitations on that. It's like, I can't communicate. No, it's just a stone. It's just a thing, a hill you got to crawl over and figure that out. And there are resources available.
There are resources available, and I think that that's something that parents can't make excuses. You got to make a way. There is a way. We have opportunities, we have scholarships, we work with professionals that want to give back. There is hardly a kid that I can think of that we've said, no, you can't, you can't do it. We can't help you. Right. And so parents just need to help empower their kids, give them the opportunity and challenge them, right, to rise up to the occasion and get them to do the work. And if they're really interested, help them. Kids need a cheerleader. And if it's not their parent, send them to us. We'll help them. You don't know what you're doing, we'll help them.
I think one of the things that's important for parents to recognize is if you have an eighth grader, and Nikki was talking about a 12-year-old, this is the perfect opportunity for them to do a unit study on what is available to them in the career of veterinary medicine. Have them go do the research and don't begin and end with AI. AI is a great starting place to get some questions. Tell me 10 questions I need to ask about veterinary careers, but then go and do the work, have them do the research, because if they own it, they possess it and they'll do something with that. But if you do it for them, it's not going to go anywhere. And as the parent of 6 adults, I can tell you for a fact, what they research, they own.
And Gretchen, to add on that as well too, I think one of the things that we mentioned, like we keep talking about these ages, and one of the questions somebody sent in, what can my younger kids do? Okay, a vet practice is a small business and there's liability and things that are concerned. So if you think about, if you were a business owner, would you want a 9-year-old in your practice? There for the risk is there. There's a risk of injury. So that's the beauty of 4-H and FFA and in these programs and HOSA is that, okay, my kid is 12. He may not be able to get into a clinic at 12. Sometimes they can at 14. Sometimes vet clinics want employees. They don't want volunteers. They want employees. So when they're of employable age. So there's the things to consider. But I think that's the beauty of 4-H and FFA is that they have programs for these kids. I mean, my kid's a Clover kid. He's 3rd grade this year. So he's going into actual 4-H. But for the past 2 years, he's been in Clover Kids. So he's been involved and been around it and saw. And at first he went to the entomology department. Now he wants to be an entomologist. Now he wants to work with robots 1 week. So that's the things that it's just that career exploration. And that's the things where these kids that we can get them in early in these programs, and 4-H and FFA are bringing the industry into the classroom and working that way before the student goes out into a clinic. So we talk about these younger ages about what to do to get them involved. Just find a vet science program. And if you don't have one, that's what we do. We can help start one.
I'm laughing, David, because my husband majored in biology, minored in entomology. And for 21 years that we homeschooled our kids, all of my friends would come over and say, don't ever open their freezer. You never know what's going to fall out because somebody's got something in there they're going to pin.
Yes.
My kids were pinning bugs at the age of 5. So
Yep.
Yeah, I want to thank you both for joining us today. This has been a fascinating conversation. And Nikki, I want to thank you. Susan had a schedule conflict and you stepped in at the last minute, and it has been just lovely to have you here. We will have some extensive show notes for you all. I have some follow-up as based on the conversation that we've had today. I had the pleasure of interviewing Temple Grandin a year and a half ago, and I think we're going to include that in our show notes. I'm also going to include a webinar that I did this spring with a gentleman who teaches college level online chemistry to homeschoolers. And so we'll include that because you need to do some more exploration if you're a parent. And then the last thing I'm going to include is one of the career exploration webinars that we did a year ago with my daughter, Shelby, who is a research veterinary technician, and she does stem cell research. And I think you need to see, here is a pathway with a child who started at 14 volunteering to sweep floors and wash out kennels in a veterinary office. And now you can see what she does as an adult. And I think this will be great homework for our families who've joined us today. I want to thank you all so much. And maybe a year from now, you'll come back and tell us how the program has grown.
Thanks again for joining us. We're glad to be a part of your educational community. You can help us grow our community even more by rating, reviewing, and subscribing to the show wherever you may be hearing this. Don't forget that you can access the show notes and watch a recording at demilearning.com/show or on our YouTube channel. We'll see you again next time. Until then, keep building strong foundations for lifelong learning.